The Danube Waltz begins in Passau, Germany, a city which lies at the confluence of three rivers, the Inn, the Danube, and the Ilz. Okay, so today's Thursday, July 21st. We are sailing along the Danube between Passau and Linz. It's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon here. That would be 9 o'clock in the morning back home. So earlier today, this morning, we took the excursion hiking the Passau Hills, which is a paid excursion. The last time we were in Passau, we took the included, the free one. But if you do come on the romantic Danube or on the Danube Waltz, I would highly recommend the hiking one because you see everything that you see in the regular tour and then some. Our hiking tour began on the hill opposite of the cathedral, separated from the peninsula by the Inn River. The Inn River is cold, green in appearance, and originates in the Swiss Alps. In Passau, the Inn River converges with the Danube and the Ilz rivers at a point called the Drei Flüsse-Ecke, which means the corner of three rivers. Here you can see where the amazing, beautiful, milky green Inn River meets up with the blue Danube. Listen here to our knowledgeable guide, Anton, explain the unique characteristics of the Inn River.
In the near of the border to the Switzerland. And from the South here to Passau is a high difference for nearly 2,000 meters. And therefore the river Inn has a mainly sand or silt.
Our first stop along the hike was the 17th century Baroque Abbey complex consisting of the Pauline Fathers Monastery. And on the site you can find the graves of the monks who were at the monastery. On the crosses you can see their designation, Pater meaning father, Bruder meaning brother. Also a part of the Baroque Abbey complex is the Maria Hilf Church, which means Mary helps. It was and still is a pilgrimage church. During the 1600s, when Vienna was besieged, Emperor Leopold I fled to Passau. Emperor Leopold and his wife prayed daily to the Virgin Mary for victory against the Ottoman Turks. The painting to which they prayed can be seen here in the altar. And when the Turks were successfully repelled, the Habsburgs considered it the work of Mary. As such, this church became quite the sensation in the Austrian Habsburg Empire. One interesting feature of this church is this pilgrimage chapel, which begins at the bottom of the hill. Once inside, pilgrims pray along each step until they reach the top of the staircase. Next, we continued along the southern banks of the Inn River to Passau's remaining city walls. As you can see here, it is a double wall structure, so that if someone were able to breach the first wall, they would then have to climb the second wall in order to do damage to the city. I was super excited when our tour guide Anton brought us to the city walls because if there's anything I love visiting, it's city walls and rivers. 2,000 years ago, Passau was a Roman colony under a different name, and these stones are a reconstructed foundation of a castle built by the Romans. This stone foundation is in the exact formation of the ancient Roman castle. Next, we left the Innstadt through what was once a drawbridge. After leaving the Innstadt, we took a pedestrian bridge across the most beautiful river in the world, the Inn River. Looking westward, we can see its gorgeous milky green color. Now looking to the east, you can see some of the city's most famous and important landmarks, but do not let that distract you from this majestic and charming river that lies before you. Just look at it. It's so incredible. Sadly, we couldn't stare at the Inn River all day long, so we moved into the old town. Our next stop was St. Stephen's Cathedral, which stands at the highest point in the city. In 1662, a large fire broke out in the city and destroyed most of the cathedral, including the parts you are looking at now. So it was quickly rebuilt in the Baroque style. The part of the church that was salvaged, the rear of the church, is still in its original Gothic style. In our first visit to Passau, we did go inside the cathedral and view the interior, but we did not do that this time. So here is a picture from the interior when we visited in 2019. And here is the organ of St. Stephen's Cathedral. It is the largest organ in the world with 17,974 pipes. And according to Anton, it takes 5 years to disassemble and properly clean the organ. Don't know who this guy is, but he sits outside the cathedral every day playing his violin, and his dog here is super cute and well behaved. He is definitely no Shelby. For much of Passau's history, bishops held considerable power over the city, so we went inside the bishop's palace and observed the ceiling. We continued our hiking tour by walking through the alleyways of the old town of Passau towards the town hall. And isn't this alleyway really cute? I like alleyways almost as much as I like rivers. Okay, so this is the town hall. It was built in 1405. However, the tower, which is 124 feet high, was built later in 1892. It is neo-Gothic in the Venetian style. Being at the confluence of 3 rivers, Passau has quite the history of flooding, which you can see here in the graph. Over time, the height of the water has been recorded on the wall of the city hall. You can see that 2013 was the second highest. You may remember that flood on the news. Finally, we headed over to the Festa Oberhaus, which is one of the largest and best preserved fortresses in Europe. Along the way, we passed the Niederhaus, which you can see here, which is the lower part of the fortress complex. There are 3 ways to get to the Festa Oberhaus. You could take a taxi or a bus, or you can go by foot, like we did, up the steep inclines and seemingly endless number of steps. There's our amazing guide, Anton, right there, as we are getting closer and closer to the entry of the fortress. The fortress was constructed in 1219 by the first Prince Bishop of Passau, which allowed the bishops to control trade and commerce over the area where these 3 rivers converge. The fortress was attacked 5 times between the years 1250 and 1482, but each time ended in failure. However, in 1802, in Napoleon's march across Europe, he ended the rule of the bishop and granted control of the fortress to his local Bavarian allies. The chapel here in the center of the complex is the Chapel of St. George. One final interesting point about the fortress is that for a period of 100 years ending in 1918, it also served as a military prison, giving it the nickname the Bastille of Bavaria. The ultimate treat, however, from visiting the fortress is the amazing panoramic views of the city that you can take in from the top, making all of those steps and the steep incline totally worth it. Here you can see the Ilz River. That's that black colored one. There's another shot of the Ilz River right there. And of course, we cannot forget where the 3 rivers meet. The bottom is the Ilz River, the middle is the Danube, and the green beautiful one at the top, that's the inn.